I'd like to talk tonight about one of the areas that is much up for debate and discussion and dialogue, and that is the area of parole reform. Parole becomes a controversial topic because, on one side, there are those who feel that parole should be offered more generously to people that have shown progress. We shouldn't just keep them in prison. The ultimate idea of prison is rehabilitation. And another side that feels that we have to preserve the rights of the victims and the families of the victims in particular, who are certainly upset and concerned and are suffering the effects of the crime in their lives if they've lost a loved one. Very difficult circumstance, obviously, for them, very painful. So, what are some concepts that really have come to the fore? One of them has come from much discussion is the concern about older inmates. So that if these older inmates have served at least 15 years and they're 55 years of age or older, that they should have an interview with the parole board. And there should be an assessment made because a lot of times as inmates get older, the thought is that there's going to be less recidivism for them, less crime that they're going to be involved with. They're at a different stage in their life. And also the economic impact of older inmates, because since they are older, there are more medical conditions that they're dealing with. It becomes a real concern in terms of cost for them in prison because of the medical attention that has to be given to them. So there is that concern as well, the economic concern in terms of the burden on the state of taking care of those inmates. Um, and the idea is that they would be released under community supervision so that they just wouldn't be released and put out into a community, and therefore they could really get into trouble again. But there would be some supervision over them, direction given to them, job opportunities looked for them, get them into decent housing, get them in a supportive situation. That type of initiative is really envisioned in terms of this. And there was a bill to that effect introduced by the state senator Brad Hoylman from Manhattan, a Democrat, and that bill failed. But certainly it's a proposal that is being given much thought and much discussion. Victims of crime oppose this. And one of the main reasons they do oppose this is appearances before parole boards can cause victims to relive their awful experiences. So there they are, faced with this situation where they have to go to a parole board, they have to hear about the crime again, they have to see the one who perpetrated the crime. It's almost like they're reliving this experience over and over again, and it's very difficult for them, a very hard situation. Uh, Laura Hearn is the executive director of the Ronkonkoma-based Crime Victim Center. And what they do is, in the Crime Victim Center, they provide support for those who are victims of crime and also for their families. So a very important ministry because they have been hurt by the crime, they have been damaged by the crime. Sometimes they've lost a loved one. Uh, Sometimes they've lost somebody who has been their main provider in the family. And how do you cope with that situation? So a lot of difficulties certainly for them, and it's important that we minister to them and help them through this obviously the difficult time for them. There is another group called Voices for Victims, and they have been advocating reform of the parole system. Uh, Hoylman, in his proposal, his bill to expand parole to those 55 and older who have served the 15 years, um, talks about the cost of corrections. And there is, of course, the cost of the state, but also there is the cost to society in terms of the possible contributions that these people can be making in a positive way to our society. So we can sometimes think just of cost of and say, well, so much per year for an inmate, and that's one cost, and a significant cost, and it's got to be addressed. But there's also this other cost, and the cost not only in terms of how they can build up society, but maybe to their families, and the positive contribution they can be making to their families as well, to help them enter the mainstream of our society and to build them up. So, on many areas, there are costs here to be concerned about. And really, the main question the parole board has to determine is this: is this person going to be a threat to society? Difficult determination to make, right? And very heavy responsibility, because obviously, if you release somebody and they do a crime again and do more damage, then more people are victimized and there's more pain in society. So that is a difficult call, but there are assessment tools obviously at their disposal for making that call in terms of how this person has reacted in the prison system. What has been their track record? Have they had a lot of violent encounters in the system? Have they been fighting a lot, or have they been, pretty productive and helpful and follow the rules in the prison system? Um, Proposal by Voices for Victims is that you have to wait 4 or 5 years to reapply for parole if you are a violent offender. Currently, it's 2 years. They want to extend it now to 4 or 5 years. Again, the concept would be a very simple one, that you are helping those who are victims. They don't have to go every 2 years. 4 to 5 years would be enough for them. And it can be worked into the parole system in a smooth way. Victims should be informed of parole hearings and provide a written summary of rights to victims. They want victims to receive transcripts of parole hearings at no cost, and they want preservation of violent crimes and sentencing records. So, and all of these are very reasonable requests. They want to know when there's going to be a hearing. They want to be involved with the hearing. They want transcripts of the hearing. All of these things, of course, would be important for them in terms of their healing from the trauma that they have experienced as victims or families of victims. Uh, some of the victims that were involved in this are the family of Kelly Ann Tynes. She was killed by a Valley Stream neighbor in 1989, so you can imagine the pain there. A woman who was 16 when she was assaulted, again, the pain that she has gone through. And José Lucero, his brother Marcello, was killed in 2008 in a hate crime. And Joselo says the pain never goes away. So with parole reform, very delicate issue. It's got to be a balancing, and it is a good discussion, a good dialogue to have, so that we can have a system that is certainly good for society and good for rehabilitation, and also balancing the rights and needs of the victims and their families.